Testing, testing. Make sure y'all can see me and hear me. Testing, testing. I gotta work on this the resolution on this camera. Probably won't be the best quality on this video, but I'll work on that in the future. What's going on though? So I got an interesting topic for y'all. I don't know if y'all know, about less than a month ago, my brother died, and it got me thinking. This is a very interesting topic because I feel as though, especially us in the black community, is something that we don't really talk about enough. You know, uh, black community has a lot of strange family dynamics. A lot of us grow up in single parent households. I think 70% of us grew up with single parent households, single mother led households. A lot of us have half brothers, half sisters, step brothers, step sisters. We have a lot of blended families in the black community, and that makes things very complicated. That makes things very complicated when someone dies, especially when a child dies. And for anyone dies for that matter. With these blended families that we have, it makes things very complicated. So today we're going to talk about it. I'm partially going to share part of my story, partially share some facts. We're just going to have a conversation. Anyone who comes in, feel free to join the conversation, leave your comments. I appreciate it. Keep the thing moving. So, one thing I noticed, if you know, it's a stereotype. It's a common stereotype in the black community that, oh, black men don't like to go to the hospital. Black men don't like to see doctors. This is this is well known facts that a lot of men in general, black men in particular, don't like to go to the doctor. Now, it's at least talked about, it's at least understood the reason why. The reason why black people have a distrust of the medical system. There's been a lot of shenanigans, tomfoolery in the medical system perpetrated against black folks historically. So for good reason, we don't really trust those folks over there. But with such complicated blended families that we have in the black community, it's important that we talk about these types of things. What are our plans should the worst occur in our lives? Should the worst occur? Should I die? Should you die? Should mom die? Should your dad die? You know, what type of plans do we have? I'm actually in Washington D.C. I'm licensed to sell life insurance. So this is not something that I take lightly. This is something that I take very seriously because I recognize that it's a very uncomfortable conversation. A lot of people don't want to talk about this. A lot of people, the young folks, kids, don't want to tell their parents, hey, mom, dad, do you have a will? Do you have any type of instructions that we should be aware of? What should happen if you're not here tomorrow? That's a very uncomfortable conversation to have with your parents. A lot of folks don't know how to even start this conversation. You know, it's very uncomfortable for kids to bring to their parents. And a lot of parents don't want to think about it because they're like, well, hey, if I die, I'm not here. That's your problem. That's not something I even need to worry about. So on both sides, there's reasons to avoid having a conversation which can affect generations here and generations to come. And that's why I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about. I've got a platform where I talk about interesting topics, and why not this one, right? Why not this one? What better place to have this conversation than on this live where anyone can come on, check me out. And I know that if I'm going through some stuff like this, and I'll get into the stuff that I'm personally dealing with, my family personally dealing with. So just to say, it's not just me preaching to the choir. This is some stuff that I'm going through, and I know if I'm going through it, there's somebody else out there who's going through it too. There's somebody else who's thought about it, who's like, dang, my mom's got cancer. My mom's got diabetes. My mom's in her 60s. My mom's in and out the hospital. What would I do? What would my sister do? What would we do with the house? What would we do if the worst was to occur? But you don't want to bring that to your mom and be like, hey mom, we need to I hope nothing happens to you. But inevitably something will happen to us all, and we need to have some type of plan, some type of structure to where you're not gone and now me and sis gotta fight over what's here, over responsibilities, assets and liabilities. We don't have any type of plan. We don't have any understanding of what your debts are, what we're going to be responsible for, what's owed on the house, what type of mortgages, reverse mortgages, what type of liabilities, what type of assets do we have in this family that we're going to have to take care of. It's a very uncomfortable conversation to have. It's a very uncomfortable conversation to bring to your parents or your grandparents, whatever have you. And your parents and grandparents probably don't want to think about it, probably don't want to talk about it. It's almost like that old adage, oh, if I say it, then it could come upon me. So let me just not even think about it. Let me not even acknowledge it and just hope that nothing happens. And a lot of times that's what leads us, to be unprepared when things do come up. So let me just give you some background information on what I got going on. Like I said earlier in the video, my brother died less than a month ago. Now, he has sickle cell. He's been sick his whole life. He's been sick his whole life. So it's not as though we didn't know that one day that this would occur. So with that being said, you would think we would have some type of plan in place. We would have some type of understanding. But when someone dies, that's when you're going to find out, especially to you young folks. Because, young folks, you really don't know. You think you're going to live forever. You think everyone around you going to live forever. But when you're young, you're in your teens, you're in your early 20s, you're in your late 20s, you're still in your 20s. You probably, nobody, if you're still in your 20s, chances are nobody around you've been dying like that. So you don't really know what it feels like. You might have seen something on TV, but chances are, if you're still in your teens and 20s, most of the people around you probably still, your friends and everybody, your friends, your family probably still all here. You probably don't know what's going on. You probably don't know what it feels like. But it's like when somebody that you care about dies and you worried about mourning and grieving that person, but while you still thinking about that person being gone, you want to send them messages, you want to call them, you want to send them something on Instagram, but then you realize, oh, I can't even send you nothing because you're not even here. You thinking about that. You thinking about, man, I want to talk to my brother. I want to text my brother. But then the people around you thinking about, oh, but who's going to get his car? What? What? You see what I'm saying? You thinking about, oh man, I just had some plans to go into business with bro. I just had some plans of what we're gonna do when we link up. I just talked to you last week. You thinking about the man, the person that you're missing. But the people around you thinking about how can I come up? How can I get my piece of the pie? Man, when somebody dies, that's when the vultures come out. That's when the vultures come out. When everybody's alive in the hood, you see gorillas and snakes, right? But when someone dies, that's when those monkey niggas turn into vultures, yo. I'm telling you. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I know. It's a jungle out here for real. I'm dropping some facts, yo. I'm dropping bars. When they alive, you got gorillas and snakes around you. But then when you die, that's when they turn into vultures. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's not just with the family. It's not just with the family. God forbid you have roommates. You're gone, but everything you own still in that house, right? You got roommates like, I like that chain, cuz. Let me grab that. I know he kept some cash in that sock drawer, didn't he? Let me go through that. Let me grab that. It's not a family looking at dude like, hey yo, let me holler at you, cuz. Just like this, just like this. One person's death can turn into two. Niggas can get into some real gangster stuff. And I'm not gonna say too much on this internet, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I know it's not just me. People go through. If I'm going through this, I know there's people out there. Somebody can watch this. Somebody gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I know what he's talking about. I know what he's talking about." Family members turn on each other because they want a piece of the pie. Oh, you wasn't here for him when he was alive. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? This type of talk. And it's like, yo, where's the unity? Where's the unity? You would think someone dying, you come together and you mourn together. This is why I put in the title of the video, the need for family unity. You would think everybody at this funeral loves this man that's sitting in the casket. So you would think we would all come together on the same accord. We have something in common, our love for the person in the casket. But no. But no. The person we love is sitting there asleep in an eternal slumber. And the people who's awake, awake, so-called conscious, y'all got less peace. the man sleeping is resting in peace. And the ones awake, y'all don't got no peace. y'all don't got no peace. Cause y'all over here fighting over the assets of the man that's gone. You feel me? When all of this could have been avoided with a 1 hour session of, hey, what would we do? Worst case scenario. While your family member is alive, yo, take advantage of their life, take advantage of their consciousness to avoid confusion, to avoid hostility and infighting amongst the family, to avoid all of that. Yo, just have a quick conversation with your family members, the people that you love. Say, hey, if the worst should occur, what would you want? What would you want? I got brothers, I got sisters. If the worst would occur, what do you want me to give to my sis? What do you want me to give to my bro? What do you want? How do you want us to handle this? Because a quick conversation can eliminate so much confusion, so much hostility, so much anger and fighting amongst the family. If you just get over the hurdle of, oh, this is an uncomfortable topic. Oh, this is uncomfortable. I don't want to talk to my mom about what would happen if she was gone tomorrow. I don't want to talk to my dad about what would I do? What should we do with X, Y, and Z if you weren't here? We don't want to broach these uncomfortable topics until it's too late. And then it's too late, so you got people turning against each other. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? This is universal. I know that this is a topic that everyone can relate to because every day, like it or love it, everybody's got a born day and everybody's got a goodbye day. Everybody's got a goodbye day, but we just don't want to talk about it. We want to leave all the problems, all the confusion for the people who are here after we're gone. We will rather just leave it. Hey, I'm if I'm gone, then that's their problem. That's their problem. Let them figure that out. It's selfish. The people who the older generation who don't want to talk about it is because it's uncomfortable for them. They don't want to think about it. They're like, I'm just going to avoid it altogether. The younger generation is like, well, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to. I don't want to make it look like I'm trying to, you know, position myself to take something prematurely. And it's like, listen, it don't have nothing to do for me. And I tell you this because of what happened with my brother. My brother died. There was questions about what's going to happen with his assets and stuff. I said, listen, I don't give it all away. I don't want nothing. I don't need nothing. I've got everything that I need in life. Praise God. Praise the Most High. I'm fine. I want peace and justice for my brother because of the things that happen surrounding his situation. Surrounding his situation, I want to know, oh, so I hear X, Y, and Z. We need to address that. Not because of the assets. Let's get the assets and then give the assets away. Give it to sis. Give it to ma. Give it away. I'm not interested in the assets. I'm interested in getting justice because I know some things happened that should not have been happening without saying too much on the internet. So you see, before I keep going, as I was saying before, all of these confusions could be solved or at least prevented with something simple like a conversation and a will. So with that being said, a will. A will is the easiest way to avoid all of this confusion, all of this hostility. A will gives the person who's writing it some closure that hey, at least I know what little I have is going to be given out to the people that I love the most. They don't have to fight to get it. They know I love them. I can write a note to them so that they know I thought about them when I was still here and I love them. A will. Now, what are the requirements for a will? A will, you know, I'm on this YouTube thing. I wish I could just get on here and just record my will and say, hey, this is what I want my mom to have. I want my sisters to have this. I want my lady to have this. I wish I could just do it in a recording, email it to myself, and that would be nice. No, a recording can be supplemental, meaning it can help, but it is not an ironclad will. In order to have an ironclad will, you need three things. One, it needs to be written down. Two, it needs to be signed by the person by who's owning it. It needs to be written and signed. Three, it has to be witnessed by two people. Two people have to witness this signing of the will. So, if I wanted to, what I could do is I could write down a will, sign it right here on YouTube. I got two people, shout out whoever's in, I don't know who's watching, but whoever's watching, y'all could see me sign this will, and that will count as an ironclad will. I throw that in the closet, the file cabinet, and should the worst occur, I have something documented for my family so that they don't have to be arguing over, oh, this should go to my sis. Oh, but what about my little sister? Should my little sister get this or should my big sister get this? You know what I mean? I'm trying to slow down. I'm going to have to breathe because, you know, it's touching a little close to home. I've got a lot going on. My brother died less than a month ago. So there's a lot of things on my mind. I'm trying to use this as an opportunity to vent, but at the same time, an opportunity to learn, right? What I'm trying to say, the moral of the story here is, especially if you have a complex family where there's stepchildren, you might have stepmom, stepdad, half brothers, half sisters. These types of situations can get very complicated. Relationships, when they're alive, cannot be, I don't want to say cannot be monetized, but it's hard to argue or prove who loved the person the most. So whereas when everyone's alive, you think, oh well, I loved him the most. We were together like this. But then when that person's gone, you can't go in front of a judge and say, hey, I was with him all day. Like nobody else really cared about him. I was the one who was with him. The judge doesn't know. The judge can't take your word for it. The judge, to be honest with you, doesn't even care. At the end of the day, he's going home. He didn't lose nobody. He's going home to his family. He's not even. He's got his will. The judge. You think a judge doesn't? The judge has his will already written down. He's not worried about none of this. Is us, especially us black folks. We don't have no life insurance. We don't have no life insurance. We passing down to our children. We passing down more debt than we are assets. We passing down more liabilities than we are assets. You know how often I go on Instagram, I go on Twitter, I see somebody dead, and what comes right after RIP pictures? GoFundMe, because they can't afford a funeral. Do you know how that breaks my heart? Do you know how that breaks my heart, yo? Especially when it's people that you care about, like your friends. Your friends are posting, okay, I might not know I might not know your auntie, but I know you. So I go on Instagram trying to enjoy my day, and I see you pics. Oh, I want to see. Oh, my man posted. Oh man, his auntie's gone, man. R.I.P. Then, soon as I see the R.I.P. pic, 2 minutes after that, I see support with the GoFundMe. Support with the GoFundMe because she didn't have nothing in her savings. Don't have no plot of land. Don't have no health insurance. No, forget health insurance, but life insurance. Which means whoever does love her, if you send the GoFundMe for the funeral, you know there's no assets being passed down in that situation. What's being passed down is liabilities. We got it now. We got to pass the collection plate around and try to bury you. Praise God, praise the Most High. We were able to bury my brother without doing the whole GoFundMe and all that. We were able to take care of that. But it's not just about me though. It's not just about me and the situation I'm going through. It's about the world, whoever's watching. I know I'm not the only one who's seen these GoFundMes talking about, give $5, $10 if you can to Aunt Cheryl, Aunt Gladys, Uncle Joe. You see these GoFundMes because someone passed every other week. And all that tells me is there was no planning there. There was no savings. There was no savings and there was no planning. No life insurance. Nothing but debt. Nothing but debt. In the black community, they say the average black household has a total asset of $3,000. Let me Google that while we're talking. Let me Google that just to confirm. I don't want to throw some random stats out there. So I'm gonna Google it while we're talking. But I believe it said that the average black household has a total asset to liability of $3,000. Meaning your entire household, your car, your house, or maybe you don't have a house, maybe you're renting. Everything you have, your clothes, your shoes, what your paintings, whatever values you have, minus your debts. Oh, you got some medical bills, you have some whatever debts you have. Your total assets, the average black household has a total average of $3,000. Whereas the average white household has a total of like $125,000. Now, this $3,000 is the household, not a person, not the individual, the household. Which means husband if there is one, wife if there is one, and children living in one house. God forbid, let's say you got a house, mom, dad, two kids. Dad, for whatever reason, he's out to pick, he dies. Things happen. Now, you had a total household asset of $3,000. You didn't have no life insurance. So that $3,000 is going where? To bury dad. To bury dad. Now, what we got left over in this house? We got mom and two kids. You see what I'm saying? You see how this goes generationally because of a lack of planning, lack of conversation around a topic that we all know is inevitable. Around a topic that we all know is inevitable. We all know we're going to go one day. It's selfish for us not to think, hey, let me have just a little bit of concern for what should happen if the worst should occur. Especially if you have kids. Especially, maybe you think, okay, well, hey, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, I don't have any kids. If I die, you know, it'll go to whoever. But see, that's just as wrong as anything else, man. I'm gonna have to make a part two on this topic. I'm gonna go. Let me research. Let me do this search before I go. Before I let y'all go. What is the average? I'm gonna have to do a part two on this, man. Hey, peace, y'all. I appreciate y'all watching. I'm gonna have to do a part two because this is an important topic that a lot of people don't talk to. If you're in here, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm definitely gonna have to revisit this topic. I got a lot of things I need to visit on y'all. Y'all be sure to hit the thumbs up button. But let me finish this search. What is the average household assets? Wealth. Yeah. In the community. I'm gonna have to research this topic. Because even with the recent black wealth $340,000 compared to 1.1 million for their non-black counterparts. Here it is. Let me share my screen on this. The black-white wealth gap left black households more vulnerable. Let me share this coming from the Brookings Institute. I'm gonna share my screen on this. Hold on. Hold on, bear with me. There we go. Slide this over. Make this a little smaller so it'll fit on the screen, y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Like I said, be sure to thumbs up button. It's a topic that we need to talk more about. It's uncomfortable. But at the same time, I feel like if we had these conversations, we could leave the future generations, we could leave stronger households in the future. Let's check out this article. Now, I haven't even read this, but I already know kind of what the point is. The black-white wealth gap left black households more vulnerable. Wealth, defined as the difference between household assets and debt, provides a critical safety net to households during economic downturns. Wealth holds several advantages over wages as an economic resource. In particular, income from wealth is taxed at much lower rates than income from work, and wealth can serve as a source of savings to absorb temporary setbacks, such as a loss of employment or income. So a lot of times when they say, "Oh, there's not much of a income gap," blacks are catching up. Blacks make The average black man makes about $42,000, whereas the average white man makes $51,000. But that's income. That's not even considering assets, wealth. Wealth is what's important. Wealth is much more important than income. You can improve your income, but wealth, it takes so much time to improve your wealth. A previous Hamilton Project analysis revealed staggering inequalities in wealth held by white versus black households. Using updated data from the Survey of Consumer Finances for 2019, we find that the black-white wealth gap persisted heading in the... Let me go down a little bit on this. In 2019, the median white household held $188,000 in wealth, and this is 7.8 times that of the typical black household at $24,000. This is coming from the Brookings Institute. 7.8 times that of the typical black household. They're sitting around $188,000 in wealth. We're sitting around $24,000 in wealth. You see that? You see that? You see what we got to work with? And then of that, the reason of, okay, now of course this is due to history, just if you look at the history of America, of course, we haven't had the opportunities and, we've had the limitations. Okay, I get all that. But moving forward, one of the main reasons why this gap, besides income inequality, income inequality and wealth inequality are two separate things. The wealth inequality is something that's going to take much more time to address, much more than the income inequality. But what we need to do with our income is better management of our income. As far as spending power, black Americans have a large spending power, especially compared to the rest of the world. We're not starving out here. We got a lot, 50% of black men single, childless, and then 60% of that number is in the middle class. So most of us are doing okay. Most of us are getting middle class income. We're not starving. We're not, they like to say we're all in prison and we're all just deadbeat baby dads. It's not true. We're doing okay as far as income, but it's the management of this wealth that we need to address. And part of the management of this wealth is our legacy and family estate planning. This is a long topic. I'm definitely gonna have to make a part 2 about this because it's so irritating to me that how often do you see, if you go on YouTube now, if you go on Twitter, all you're going to see is people arguing about Carly Russell. You're going to see people arguing about, relationships, girls dying, Sexy Red, and girls tripping, being delusional, talking about they want millionaire men, and men talking about girls aren't nothing. All you see is just male and female infighting. That's all you see on YouTube and Instagram. But you don't see real conversations like this. Real topics about stuff that affects everybody. Every single person has a family member. Every single person needs to have this conversation with their family. Who tell me who would not be affected if their mother, God forbid, passed today, passed tomorrow? If their father, God forbid, passed today, passed tomorrow? If their brother, God forbid, passed today, passed tomorrow? We all know that this is a possibility, and yet nobody wants to talk about it. We all know it's a possibility. We ignore it, and then when it happens, we're unprepared. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Because it's uncomfortable. Because it's uncomfortable. Is that all it takes? That's all it takes to get us to screw us over. Just make them uncomfortable. As long as they're uncomfortable, they'll just ignore it, right? That's why they say you want to hide something from black folks, put it in the book, because they'll be uncomfortable trying to read it. Mm, 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 mm. It's not right, man. It's not right, man. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. And if you're young, then you're really not going to be too worried about it. Because, hey, I would live through my 20s. I was like, man, no, I'm not worried about all that. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, okay. Wait till you hit your 30s. Wait till you get to your mid 30s. Wait till you start moving up into your 40s. And you start seeing people drop off like flies. Hey man, I'm gonna have to make a part two on this. Appreciate y'all watching. Be sure to thumbs up, man. I'm gonna come back later on with this. Peace.